Where they are in the capital. Thank you so much for keeping TV47. My name is Linda Alela. It's time for us to kick off the week and the day on a very beautiful note as we take a look at what is happening in the world of news. We also take a look at what is happening on matters entertainment, cross over to matters health, cross over to matters education. We're right here to ensure that you are updated this beautiful Monday morning, and also we update you on what is happening on the roads, so at least you're not caught flat-footed. If you are headed to the office, if you are headed to your business place, it is important that you know what is happening on the road, so you are on the you're on tops and you are not going to step there late. So welcome on board. As always, we start off with Matters newspaper. We also take a look at what is happening. Of course, I'll be taking you through the news stories that have been prepared by my very own team. And as the norm, we'll have the Daily Nation, we'll have the Standard newspaper, but we'll start off with the People's Daily, which is actually right here on your screens. And you know, the biggest point is that courts are supposed to reopen or are set to reopen, but under strict corona safety rules. As you can see, this is one of the biggest stories that is captured on the front page of the People's Daily, but of course extends to page 5 of the People's Daily. Remember, there's been a tussle between the judiciary and of course the executive, and more so we know very well that at some point the court stopped operating, especially as we are dealing with COVID-19. But then again, from the look of things, there's so much so that needs to be looked into in regards to the cases, and then this of course has pushed the court to decide that they are going to open indeed amid all the districts. We'll be taking a look at all districts opening that is expected, and that should be right here. Judiciary scales up operations, issues new court guidelines, use of technology, key functions that are going to be addressed right there. The number of people who are supposed to be in a court session at a particular time at 15, including all the magistrates, and you know, all the issues that are supposed to be done, as you can see. However, the CJ said that of course the official officers would continue to go to work, but with no open court sessions. I don't know, which is something that you can always grab your copy of the People's Daily, get to know what exactly, in the event that you have interest, then you'll get to know what is expected of you, what is not expected of you. If you have a case, how well you can proceed to ensure that it is addressed. That is right there. Let's go back to the front page. Another key story, complex plots in Waiguru's Oyster saga, and those keen to save him battled governor want Senate Select Committee to consider impeachment, while groups opposing or opposed to this are demanding that the whole House listens to the petition. It's captured on page 4 of the People's Daily, and this is one of the stories that we'll be capturing on later on the discussion as we take a look at the current affairs. We'll be crunching more on what we should expect or what is to be expected in regards to the same, and also, you know, the events that took center stage over the weekend in regards to equally this particular case. So pro-anti-Waiguru forces locked in complex plots. Remember yesterday, Junet Mohammed confirming that the ODM senators will be out there to ensure that at least they protect Waiguru, because then according to him, of course, the ODM party upholds the leadership of women on these key helms. So we'll be taking a look at the events. We discuss that later with my panel, and at least 4 groups have emerged that either want to save the governor or send her packing, and Tangatanga is using social media of course campaigns to urge the Senate to send the governor home, and the Kieleweke wing has been holding private meetings to firm up its strategy on ensuring that they save Anne Waiguru, having been known very well that she is pro-BBI, and according to them, she will come in handy towards ensuring that the BBI sails through. Another key story, why 70 parents of pieces of parents, don't want learning to resume. Oh, all right. Back of parents that do not want learning to resume. Confirmed cases of COVID-19 also captured right there on the front page. 1,253 recovered, 103 deaths, and 336 people were tested. And the latest number standing at 3,594 after 137 tested positive as of yesterday. So we'll also be taking a look at whether there are telltale signs of us reopening later on the broadcast, and what it would mean, the event that we decide that amid that survey that was conducted by InfoTrack on Sunday released, saying that 59% of the people would wish for churches to reopen. And the Top Lands Ministry officials sued over $3 billion deal. This is it. This is a story that is also captured on page 2 of the People's Daily. Kandara Group in court over an alleged scam where buyers have been duped into purchasing public land in Kiambu. As you can see, CS of Lands, that is Farida Koronui right there. So there is no record of the purported transfer of the land, Ananas. And of course, you can grab this copy and get to see what exactly has been captured on this one, even as the country continues to grapple with the issues of land, historical land injustices still an issue right here in the country. So yes, another story. Works on a 1.7 billion footbridge to start soon. That's in Likoni, that is. And it's captured right here. That's an interesting story. Let's cross over to a different one, as we also await for the person who's going to take me through the stories. Locals fears over shoddy roadworks. I think this is pretty much common, a situation. And of course, when Deputy President William Ruto visited Gatundu North in February 2018, they say that of course they launched the 35 kilometers road linking most villages. But as it is, most of these roads that have been commissioned have not been done so well. Most of the people complaining across the country, and this also is the Gatukuyu Kairi Matara Road, and indeed it is far from done 2 years down the line. So necessary stakeholders should get into that towards ensuring that it is also looked into. And let's cross over to a different story, and I am being told that Joseph Simeha is joining me, an advocate, so at least he can help me go through the newspapers. Good morning, Simeha.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. I guess I'll take us back to the front page so we can get your view on the stories that have been captured. One key one is the courts are set to reopen under strict corona safety rules. Was this long overdue?
Yeah, that was long overdue. Courts are so important in the management of affairs of society. Just anything that is for dispute resolution is so critical, and I know that a lot of people have been under distress because of the limited access to courts. So this was long overdue, and it's important that they open up. But of course, it has to be a balance between offering that service to citizens, of arbitration and dispute resolution, and keeping people healthy and safe.
All right. Yeah. That's amazing. So we, of course, be taking a look at how this pans out, and we'll be here to update you. Another story that has been captured on page 2 is that a Top Lands Ministry official sued over $3 billion deal. I mean, again, we are here talking about corruption. Would we say that corruption has, has been there in as much as the country has been grappling with the aspect of COVID-19?
Of course, COVID-19 didn't mean that we changed our character.
No.
No. It doesn't mean that it affected our character in any positive way. In some bits of our character, yes, but with regards to how we manage our affairs, public affairs especially, with regards to bad manners, with regards to things like theft of public resources, plunder of public resources, corruption, I do not think that ever changed. In fact, I can take a bet that we may be waiting for shockers. We have managed and stabilized from this COVID-19. Shockers that will involve discovery of what has been going on behind the cover of COVID-19, especially in the management of public resources. So I think we should really brace ourselves for that.
All right, so that's pretty much sad. We can only wait to see what will play out. But I mean, at least for the longest of time, we've not had these cases of corruption being reported. But then again, like you rightfully put it, probably so much has been cooking underwater. All right, and then this also one story that was captured on the front page. The pro-anti-Waiguru forces locked in complex plots. I think this is something that we'll also be delving deep into as we go into the discussion of the day. But I think also it's worth capturing, or it's worth, just having your take on.
Yes, I mean, I've been following it since the county assembly, her county assembly began this process. I've seen what has been talked about over the weekend, that she's seeking, I think people are calling it sanitization from Raila Odinga, that apparently she visited him for sanitization, which he denies. He says that she did not. I don't know, what the truth is. But the fact is, I think it's important, constitutional provisions are like muscles.
Right.
They have to be tested. And for me, I think what the County Assembly of Kirinyaga did is important. It's useful. I think let the process move on to the Senate, and I hope that they can be very open, put the facts out there for all to see, so that they prosecute this matter as objectively and as openly as possible, so that the people of Kenya can follow them and support whatever decision they make, whether they acquit her or convict her. The people can actually see that the evidence was all out there, the process was fair, procedurally followed, and this is a fair decision. I think that's what matters. Though I also know that that there is the world over that politics weighs in. I hope that it's still fresh in the minds of your viewers.
Yeah.
What happened in the U.S. that the Congress, the House of Representatives, indict Donald Trump, impeaches him, but Senate, guess what, acquits him.
Yeah.
It wasn't really based on facts. It was based on political interest. So again, no surprises. People should brace themselves that political interest does play a role in this. After all, these trials are quasi-judicial. They are largely political trials.
Right. Okay, we can only wait to see. Like they say, when a matter is, right ahead, we can only wait. If it's in court, if it's at the level of the Senate, I mean, they have the chance to either save her or not. I don't know whether you've been lucky enough, or unlucky enough, because this is not a good report, to have seen the WikiLeaks report that, of course, is purported to have spilled beans on the 2007 and 2008 post-election chaos. And, of course, controversial website claims that retired President allies spread hate leaflets against Right Honorable Raila Odinga, ahead of the disputed elections, that is in 2007, 2008. Have you been able to set your eyes on these reports?
I've seen bits of it. I've read bits of it. I've also seen certain parts that are being, shared all over, being alleged by WikiLeaks to be fake. So I'm still in the process of determining what of all this material. I've not read everything, but of the materials that I've had access to and read, which is genuine and which is not genuine. But nevertheless, by the way, that I do not even have necessarily to rely on the WikiLeaks, though it may confirm some things that we knew and thought, but I don't solely have to rely on that to confirm to myself about campaigns of propaganda that were carried out in 2007. Because I was very active in politics at that time, in the Kenyan politics, and I knew what was happening.
All right. And legit or not legit, I mean, such is the game of politics. You find that, yes, as an opponent, you have to strategize in whatever capacity to ensure that you beat your opponent's hands down. I mean, do you suppose then there's a big deal on this, in as much as it's indeed an exposure that is coming out? Would have expected such.
There's a big deal, although it is behavior that we've encouraged in our politics. It's very bad. It's not good at all in any country's politics. Unfortunately, it happens all over the world that people use falsehoods, lies to malign each other in the name of influencing your profile and image in the eyes of voters or the general public. But it's completely unacceptable, in my opinion, even in our politics, that it should be that there's a certain level below which we should not go. That if we are talking about you, say, as a thief, if you like, or as some other, criminal, someone of criminal character, that it should be based on fact, that we are saying we are accusing you of being a thief because there is evidence that you stole so-and-so's land, goat, or whatever. But this thing of just, coming up with that, just manufacturing that, I think is despicable. And especially when it goes as far as touching people in their very personal capacity, going to the point of talking about people's families and so on and so forth. For me, it's something that is so despicable that it should not be encouraged in our politics. Criticize each other for what is known about us based on fact,
Right.
based on what people manufacture.
Okay. Well, interesting. Now, this also is a story that has been captured on the front page of the People's Daily, and 70% of Kenyans don't back school reopening. Poll shows. Also, of course, the poll equally, the Infotrack poll equally saying that 51% of Kenyans support the reopening of worship centers. What do you make of this poll? And do you suppose then that there are telltale signs that could be showing a possible reopen of the economy once the president addresses the nation after locking us out for some months now?
Yeah, I think let's face it, our economy wasn't totally shut. I know that certain key arteries were shut because of disruptions in transportation and, not only domestically, but also externally in terms of, flights, the aviation industry and so on. Economic activity wasn't totally shut. I think it's a very delicate thing,
Right.
balancing, access to means of livelihood, a continuation of people's means of livelihood, but at the same time, for you to access means of livelihood, you have to be alive. So balancing that with the health and safety of public safety of the people of Kenya. Schools, even just observing, and we are lucky, I think I should say, as Kenyans, that this COVID-19 didn't start here, and therefore we can watch other countries where it has devastated communities first, learn lessons from there. So if we are to really be honest and look at other countries and what has happened when schools and other places have opened, we should be honest with ourselves and say that let us exercise extreme caution.
Right.
Yes, we want schools open. Yes, we want the economy fully running, but let us exercise extreme caution so that it doesn't compromise our health and safety. I mean, you could yearn for that opportunity to go out there and do whatever you want to do, and then you just never make it, or you do it for 1 to 3 days, and this thing puts you down. I keep telling people personally that I take this so seriously that I get horrified when I watch people out here appearing like the thing is some little flu, as some people say, and you can play around.
Right.
So I think, especially for the safety of children, who then are the people who interact the most with many other people, beginning with their parents, siblings, and so on, I think you cannot gamble with that. So I can see the rationale behind the government's extreme caution around opening of schools. Nobody for me can cheat me that churches, if they were opened, that, what I know of churches, that they are going to keep strictly to the measures, for example, of distancing and avoiding certain kinds of social contact and so on, because religion is one of those things that makes people extremely unreasonable, totally unreasonable.
All right, we will wait and see, even as Huduma services are set to resume. So we expound more on that equally on the discussions. A bit of another aspect of politics right here. And ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi says, I'm not discussing a 2022 poll deal with Ruto. I mean, this is coming out as though, as always, yes, you'd expect this from politics. But it's clear, or it is coming out that Deputy President William Ruto is trying to change tact, one, to ensure that they find a way to alter the BBI activities, and equally so that he would get a majority of key leaders joining his pact, so that at least they can front, issues to do with matters 2022, or front interest to do with matters 2022. And, we know that our politicians will always say that, okay, this is not it, this is not what you think, but then eventually it comes out to play out. What do you say about this and the meetings that have been convened by these leaders?
Well, I wonder why Musalia is denying that he is having some kinds of discussions with William Ruto for some kind of joint or collaborative or approach to, the next political contest. Because his Secretary General has confirmed that if news information in the media widely publicized is anything to go by, Secretary General Barak has he has confirmed that that they are getting endorsements. Musalia Mudavadi is getting endorsement from William Ruto, and they're discussing how he can be supported. which shouldn't be. I just wonder why, if they're actually talking, why would he deny? If I was in his position, I would be very frontal and forthright about it if I have made that kind of decision.
Right.
Guess what? I mean, I've kept saying that almost all these politicians in the mainstream of Kenyan politics, in terms of substance, they are not very different from each other. It's just a matter of form. You accuse this one of theft, or I don't know, this other thing and so on. You check with the others, you find that they've done the same thing. There's hardly anything different that one has done than that the other hasn't done, except perhaps one or something like that. So I would rather they came out, though I know that to manage expectations they are not going to do that, but I'd rather they came out openly and talked about what they're planning. Secondly, in terms of alternatives, I think I saw that, I've seen that on the news through the weekend. Alternatives to BBI, how to defeat BBI, and so
Yeah.
yes. My personal take is that why not wait and see what is in the substance of this BBI? Because I've again advised several times, people mistook the political competition, the mudslinging in the rallies and so on as BBI. They named it reggae, and they decided that that is what is BBI. I would that why not let the steering committee and whoever else that is working on this put out a report. Remember last time when the BBI report was launched, people were surprised.
Yeah.
If you remember.
All right.
People surprised they're like, oh, is this it? If this is it, then we can talk.
Right.
How about this time again, you wait and people wait and see what will come out in terms of the reports and recommendations.
Yeah.
And on the basis of that, you can engage. You can completely reject it. You can seek to modify it, or you can accept it and say, this is a good thing for Kenya.
Will there be enough time for all these conversations, looking at this time where, we'd have expected these conversations to have been ongoing. Now, of course, with COVID-19, it is not the case. Do you suppose that this is going to be forced down the throats of Kenyans without even having this conversation?
I believe there'll be time for these conversations to happen. People will need to exercise their right to proactively seek to see what is in there, because forcing things down their throat means that they will force them to vote in a particular way. Say, for example, if we go to a referendum, and guess what? Only one aspect, which I think is constitutional and proposed constitutional amendment, would be subject to people's vote. The other aspects would have to be subject to much more participation, and is from medium term to long term. For example, if there are any proposals for legislative changes, if there are any proposals for policy changes, those would not be things that you can just force down people's throats. They have to go through a certain procedure, certain processes.
Right.
They become part of the management of our public affairs. So I think that even if there's going to be a referendum, even if it's this year, 1 month, 2 months, is sufficient for people's public discourse to weigh in on which direction this BBI goes. In fact, the safety of this BBI, whatever proposals are in there, lies in it being owned by the people, either accepted or rejected.
Right.
And then, that means ownership. Even when people reject, it means they saw this, they decided that, okay, thank you for this, but it's not good enough. There's something better than this.
Okay, well, interesting. Sadly, we cannot be able to go through the entire newspaper. And on that note, because of the interest of time, we'll leave it at that. We're going to have Simira joining us later again for more discussions on the current affairs and the issues that are taking center stage right here in the country and, of course, across the continent. So hold it right there. We take a short breather. We'll be right back with news. And ODM leader Raila Odinga has denied meeting embattled Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru to save her political career. However, ODM through Tsuna East Mohamed Junet. Mohamed has said that the party will save Waiguru amidst pressure on Senate to hold a plenary hearing as opposed to an 11-member select committee. Senate is set to debate on which way Waiguru's case will take on Tuesday.
The ODM party leader Raila Odinga says he never met the impeached Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru as had been reported. In a statement, Odinga says he only met Laikipia woman representative Catherine Warogoro and not Waiguru. Reports indicated that Odinga met Waiguru at a city hotel to save her political career. He further states that he doesn't have the powers to influence senators to save her.
Even if it was there or not there, the reality is Raila plays a big role when it comes to whipping senators and even members of the National Assembly on issues of interest to him or to his friends. So I would not be surprised if that meeting is going to happen or might happen, or a discussion of that nature will happen.
Meanwhile, Kirinyaga members of parliament have piled pressure on Senate to hold a plenary session to discuss the fate of the governor. The members of parliament have questioned the credibility of an 11-member select committee.
Wapewe nafasi ya kusikizwa, maneno yao kusikizwa katika plenary. Hii maneno ya select committee wanashuku kwamba haiwezi ikawapatia haki ile wanataka.
Wale watu ambao wanaleta siasa za kuingilia watu binafsi kama wako kwa serikali ama nje, waachane na hizo siasa na waache Senate ifanye kazi yao.
Hii kesi ya Waiguru isikizwe na plenary ama whole house ya Senate, diposa kesi yake ikatwe na waone haki imetendeka.
Senate meets on Tuesday to discuss how the matter will be handled. House Business Committee is already proposing an 11-member committee.
The problem is when 6 of those can make a decision that will bind all the others, 61 others, the whole Senate, then that worries them. And if it worries them, then as Kenyans we should be extremely worried.
The Jubilee Party says it has left the matter before senators.
So we are watching with interest as well.
Intense political lobbying is already taking place to save Governor Waiguru, who was impeached by the Kirinyaga County Assembly. Waiguru is accused of violation of the Constitution, abuse of office, and gross misconduct. Andrine Kilemi, reporting for TV47.
We'll be following up on that story in the course of the day. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is likely to make his long-awaited visit to his central Kenya backyard next month. Recent tours in the region have been termed as preparing the way for the Messiah. Now, the 5 billion Kenya shillings rehabilitation of the Nairobi and Nyuki Railway, inspecting of construction of Mau Mau roads are among the recent activities. And as Moige William now reports, counties of Murang'a and Nyeri have received 3 cabinet secretaries inspecting development projects that the president is said will launch.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is set to tour Mount Kenya region to inspect development projects in the region. And in what appears a well-orchestrated move, cabinet secretaries making visit to central Kenya counties while inspecting projects. On Thursday, Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Peter Munya toured Murang'a and Kirinyaga counties before touring Embu County on Friday. Munya later toured his home county of Meru, and in all these meetings citing that President Uhuru Kenyatta was fully behind revival of the coffee sector.
President yako mbele kwa hii mambo. Anataka turekebishe kahawa, turekebishe majani chai, mambo ya maziwa tulirekebisha. Cotton, nasikia kuna mtu anasema already tumeanza hiyo harakati pia ya cotton. Cotton growing areas to come back. We are already raising money actually.
James Masharia, in charge of transport on Friday, toured Murang'a and Nyeri counties and was keen to know that the president was keen to launch the key electioneering promise to his backyard.
Miaka miwili Mungu akitujalia. Kwa hivyo ni lazima ile ahadi tulipatia watu wetu wa Kenya tumalize hiyo ahadi. Ile ahadi Rais Kenyatta ametoa tuna miaka miwili. Kwa hivyo hii mambo ya kusema na kusema na kusema sisi hatuwezi kurudi nyuma.
Meanwhile, Water and Irrigation Cabinet Secretary Cecily Kariuki has also been hitting the ground running, making tours inspecting projects worth millions across the region. Mulika Irrigation Project in Mugoiri, which has been allocated 253 million, also visiting the Northern Water Tunnel. In Nyeri County, earlier today held CS Mutahi Kagwe pointed that President Uhuru Kenyatta will open Othaya Level 5 Hospital.
President wa Republic yitu President Uhuru Kenyatta ni mwaga ibeka ahurathi muturio haha amugeithia na njira ndimwire ni aguka thibitari ino we ni wogoka kuhingura thibitari ino.
Earlier, Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibicho made a visit to his home county Kirinyaga, visiting the 15 billion Kemri station with the Water PS Joseph Irongo, visiting the 20 billion Wadhiba Dam with the contractor instructed to hasten completion of the dam which had stalled. President Uhuru Kenyatta had promised to kick off his tour starting this January, but it never happened, with all indicators now showing the president is planning to fulfill his words. Mwege William, TV47.
All right, a section of Luhya leaders have now started a tour of the region to consolidate the Luhya unity. Seasoned politician Noah Wekesa, Governors Wycliffe Oparanya and Sospeter Ojamong, and Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa have been crisscrossing the region amidst Ford Kenya and ANC wrangles. Meanwhile, local leaders are calling for a united Luhya political party that will spear the region to the 2022 polls.
Nikiwa mjumbe, nikiwa waziri, niliita viongozi wa Luhya waje kwa boma langu tusungumuze mambo ya unity. Watu 7 peke yake walikuja. Watu 7 instead ya watu 16. Mimi niko tayari kwenda. Tutafute wazee wengine, twende tukae na hawa, tuwaambie ya kwamba serikali imeanza kuundwa sasa.
Tufanye na rais, tufanye na Raila, tufanye na mawaziri hao. Kwa hivyo ndio tumekuja kuzungumzia nyinyi, si ati tumekuja kuonga muda, hapana. Tunakuja kuzungumzia nyinyi, kusema hapana. Kama viongozi wenu lazima tupate mwelekeo. Sio kibinafsi, lakini jamii yote ifanye nini? Ifaidike.
Wakati mimi nilikuwa waziri, tulikuwa mawaziri 9 kutoka upande huu. 9. Saa ile ya nusu mkate. Upande wa Raila tulikuwa 6. Upande wa Kibaki tulikuwa 3. Saa hii tuko na mmoja peke yake. Na tunaendelea kukaa hapa, tunakaa atu vitu itatoka mbinguni sikufikie sisi. Atu tunangojea. Hatuwezi. Hii ni wakati wetu. Sijui nitakuwa kwa siasa ya miaka ngapi.
Mambo ya vyama kusema sisi ni wa ANC, sisi wa Ford Kenya, sijui sisi wa ODM ama NASA ama Jubilee, mambo hayo yalikwisha wakati huo. Sasa sisi sote tuko chini ya serikali moja ya Mheshimiwa Uhuru Kenyatta. Sio serikali ya Jubilee, ni serikali ya Kenya na serikali ya Wakenya wote.
The judiciary is reopening today amidst a standoff with the executive and a backlog of cases. The judiciary has already outlined protocols to be followed once it resumes its operations. Zabulon Macharia reports.
Among the protocols outlined by judiciary includes promotion of social distancing as directed by the Ministry of Health. The number of people in any court session will also be limited to avoid crowding the courts. The judiciary will also prioritize cases whose hearing were affected by scaling down of court operations. The judiciary has advised all parties and their advocates to wait to be contacted by courts for civil cases. However, for criminal cases, the accused person will wait to be summoned to court through the Office of Director of Public Prosecution and the police. The standoff has been sparked by President Uhuru Kenyatta's failure to appoint 41 judges. Chief Justice David Maraga accusing him of violating the law and the court orders.
It is important that Kenyans understand that even as the courts begin to upscale operations to include in-person operations, they will find extremely congested court diaries and dockets.
Land and Environment Court has a backlog of 16,457 cases with only 31 judges. The Court of Appeal is currently faced with a backlog of 7,315 cases with only 15 judges countrywide. At the Labour and Relation Court, there's a backlog of 13,197 cases in which 12 judges are expected to handle. The courts were closed due to the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, with limited cases being handled. Zablon Macharia, TV47, Nairobi.
Thanks, Zablo. Now, more than 60% of blood donations in the country is from learning institutions, and with schools closed, the number of blood units donated has reduced, with very few Kenyans who voluntarily donating blood. Now, the Kenya Red Cross says that a projected need of 1 million units per year in Kenya, as per World Health Organization projection, is far from being achieved. But Calvin Chitwa reports from Eldoret, where access to safe blood is still a privilege of the few, and the impact of MATE to blood donation exercise in Kenya.
According to the Kenya Red Cross, the projected need of 1 million units per year in Kenya, as per the World Health Organization projection, is far from being achieved. Red Cross says every 10 minutes, someone needs blood. The country has been depending highly on schools for blood donations, and with schools closed, the numbers have gone down. The Ministry of Health has been conducting a blood donation drive in Nairobi and Mombasa.
Blood is a product that is collected voluntarily. So we need to come out voluntarily and give out that blood.
At the North Rift Blood Bank in Eldoret, we met a group of young volunteers from Kenya Red Cross who came to donate blood and celebrate two of their colleagues who have made it a routine to donate blood annually. One of their heroes is Joseph Wanjiru, who has donated blood for 23 times, and Lewis Sawe, who has donated for 14 times. They say since they started donating blood, they have never experienced any health complication, and encourage young people to donate blood regularly.
First time to donate was back in 2014. I was just 20 years. I've been doing it regularly, 4 times a year. We'll continue donating until the age of 65.
We take around 450 millimeters of blood from your body. Very minimal compared to the normal blood in your body, which is around 6 to 8 liters of blood.
They are among the few Kenyans who regularly volunteer to donate blood, and they said most people fear donating blood because of myths. Festus Koech, Eldoret Regional Blood Transfusion Center Deputy Manager, says they used to receive 200 units of blood a day, but currently they are doing 50 units, which is not enough to sustain the needs of the region.
So the figure that we are collecting is hardly sufficient to cover even a third of our services.
And we are taking a lead from the youth of Uasin Gishu, Kenya Red Cross, because they are trying to lead, and they're also going around mobilizing people to come and donate.
The government says it has increased personnel to the National Blood Transfusion Center to boost its operations, in addition to setting aside 1 billion shillings through a World Bank program to upgrade blood collection throughout the country. Calvin Chitwa, TV47, Uasin Gishu County.
Now, a mistrust between security agents and residents of Korof, Harar, Wajir County has been one of the biggest challenges in fighting insecurity. Isadine Abdi paints a picture of a town that locals dread sharing information with the police for fear of victimization.
More than 70 kilometers east of Wajir town is Korof Harar, a division about 20 kilometers off Kenya-Somali border. A town visibly ready to face any terror insurgency. The worry about similar past attacks clear on residents' faces, and the fear of danger lurking in darkness hangs over this town. Just days ago, residents say a known businessman named Gedi Abdi was picked by security forces in Karsa location. Authorities suspect the local businessman of having a hand in terror activities.
Someone who is always available, working with the government, always available, is a businessman. Everybody knows. And all the others, detainees, have been detained outside the law for 5 days without knowing where they are about.
This is the home of the missing businessman. A known number of armed men claimed to be from the security actors stormed this compound in the middle of the night. The trail of destruction left behind, clearly visible, and the mother of the house still looks confused and shaken about the night's occurrence.
They knocked my door and I opened. They pointed guns at me and asked me to get out. They came inside the house searching all through. Others were within the compound waiting.
She recorded a statement at the police station on what transpired, and now with an OB number for the case. It's 5 days since her husband was taken, and there's no explanation of the whereabouts of her husband. The residents here claim that this is not the first occurrence of police brutality and use of excessive force. They also say that they support efforts to flush out terror cells, but through the right channel, in the event that anyone is suspected.
So it's out of corruption, out of petty politics here that is being laced with the security issue. When you are, forcefully evicting them, when you are forcefully, taking their properties, they get intimidated. I don't think whether the war against Al-Shabaab will be won in that manner.
One of the old men in the town claims that the owner of this house was an honest businessman. They say that Gedi was summoned by anti-terror police for investigations in the past and later proven innocent.
Kazi ambayo ilisemekana inahitajika kwa fununu ya kusemekana kwamba ametoa hii mali wapi. Nilipopatiwa ripoti mimi mwenyewe nilimpeleka mara mbili katika anti-terror, ofisi ya anti-terror. Muda ya miezi mitatu kama mwaka mmoja iliyopita, mzee alichunguzwa hata baka rekodi yake iko katika ofisi na aliambiwa hana dhambi ajifanyie kazi.
The mutual mistrust between the locals and authorities poses a challenge in combating terror at this border town. This coexistence might be defied in one way or another, but the reality of living in peace and a terror-free environment is yet to be achieved. Isadin Haji, TV47, Qorof Division, Wajir County.
Good job, Isadin. Now, a large number of private school teachers have lost their jobs due to the ongoing corona pandemic. More than 70,000 teachers employed by School Board of Management and private schools now live at the mercy of well-wishers. Our reporter Andrine Kilemi spent a day with some of the private school teachers, and she tells us the story of the pain of private school teachers.
Derek Mudasia walks through this narrow lane to what routinely would have been a way to his house. Armed with a key, he would access his one-room house, but to his surprise, the house is locked. There is no entry today. Few of his belongings lay outside the house. The house he once called home has a new tenant.
Pato langu limeisha.
Derek, a history and Swahili teacher in one of the private schools in Nairobi, has been forced to pitch camp at his friend's house. For 3 months now, Derek hasn't been paying his monthly rent of 6,500 shillings. His belongings have been stashed here and will remain in this small room until he clears his debt that has accumulated to 19,500 shillings. Mudasia's biggest headache, however, is on how to clear the debt that now stares at him.
Sijui lile deni nitalipa vipi, kwa sababu napata kwamba ni miezi mitatu na vile vitu pengine atasema kwamba bado nimekuwekea kwamba fanya nini, lazima ulipe ada ya kukuwekea. Napata kwamba nimeweka kwa rafiki yangu ambaye ameniweka pale kwake kwa zile tu huruma zake. Napata kwamba ile sifa kama mwalimu au si kama una ule ubora kuwa mwalimu.
It is equally the same for Melda Anyango. Anyango, a mother of 3, decided to sell vegetables just outside her neighborhood to make ends meet.
Like me, sasa ilinipata ka niko na loan, Branch International. They have been asking for this loan, but I'm not in a position to pay it. So imeni affect sana, nyumba kulipa ni ngumu. So ile nilikopa tena kando ili nianze nayo hii biashara. Tena biashara pia imekuwa chini kwa sababu watu pia wameogopa.
In a good day, Anyango says she is able to make between 150 to 200 shillings.
Niko na watoto wanahitaji kukula na baba yao pia alifungiwa nje ya Nairobi na yeye pia hana kazi, ni vibarua tu. Sasa hatuna njia nyingine ya kujisaidia.
The situation is not different for Dan Simiu, a primary school teacher in one of the private schools in Ngando, a village that is part of the larger Dagoretti slum in Nairobi. This evening walks for him are refreshing and have become part of his new normal. He has until the end of the week to pay his 3 months rent or remove his belongings from the house.
Nikikaa hivi wakati mwingine nikitembea, maybe tu niitiwe chakula na jirani. Kwa hii plot kuna majirani ambao ninafunza watoto wao kule kwa hiyo shule. Wale ambao umewao at least wanatoka kidogo wanaenda kazi. So wale wazazi ndio wale ambao watakuja watume watoto waniletee chakula. Waniulize kama nina chakula na kama sina watatuma watoto. Na si kila siku kwa sababu mzazi anajua wewe si mtoto wake, si kila siku. Wakati mwingine kama hajakuletea chakula itabidi ukae ulale hivyo.
These teachers have no choice but to remain patient and hopeful. However, some of the colleagues have been hard hit by the COVID-19 hit and opted to quit. Jen Wairimu, not her real name, is one of those who gave up on the teaching profession. She sought a living elsewhere now that chalk and boards have been posed.
At 6:30 actually, nilikuwa nafaa kwa class nikifunza maths either form 3 na form 4. And then the worst of it was there was nothing, hakukuwa na any additional salary or anything. And then you have very many classes, like workload yangu ilikuwa 31 lessons per week, which is constrain ile excess. So tulikuwa tunaambiwa most of the time kwa meetings na director, unaambiwa you are there to be heard, no, you are there to be seen, not to be heard. Like unaona, in such a situation, hata ukiwa frustrated, you cannot speak out.
The COVID-19 outbreak has not only affected several businesses in the country, it has also put the lives of masses at risk, and private school teachers are no exception. Andrine Kilemi, TV47, Nairobi.
And that rather unfortunate story by Andrine Kilemi is what, of course, brings us to the end of the news stories of the day. We will take a short break and we'll be right back with the discussion on the current stories that are making headlines in the world of news. Keep it TV47. Welcome back to the broadcast. It is time for us to crack on the stories that are making headlines, key stories that we've picked on. We'll be taking a look at matters of politics. We also take a look at what is happening on the fuel prices that were registered yesterday by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. We also take a look at the events of how Best Africa is set towards addressing the COVID-19 menace and much more. So keep it right here. Again, I have Joseph Simeha joining me, and later on we hope to get a hold of lawyer Denning Okato that will be taking us through this particular session. And we already have Joseph Simeha online. Once again, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Yes, and we've touched on some of the key stories, of course, the Waiguru factor, which we'll also love to get the take of Denning later on the broadcast. But we left it at the aspect of a looming referendum, and CS Kagwe warns leaders against gathering during COVID-19. All this gathering triggered by one trying to, address the aspect of politics in certain communities, in certain ethnic groups, and, a push for that, referendum call. President Uhuru Kenyatta himself is saying that it is important that we go through a referendum if need be. What do you make of this talk or this warning by the CS Kagwe? And did they have to wait for it to get to that point? I mean, why give out rules that you cannot follow?
Absolutely. It is necessary. And I believe that CS Kagwe is just doing his job, his work as the person responsible for public health in this country. But guess what? Exactly what you just said. We need to be warned after we've been told about this pandemic, after we've been told about how it spreads and what we should do in terms of taking personal and collective responsibility to limit its spread. Do we need to be told? I know that it's necessary that in many instances that people meet, because we can't ground everything. But at the very minimum, we should demonstrate in these meetings that we are respecting the regulations that have been issued, not just by the government of Kenya, but by the World Health Organization. At the very minimum, we should demonstrate that the meetings of more than 14, 15, 20 people are absolutely necessary and unavoidable. If people can look at those kind of elements in the meetings that are being held and see that this couldn't be avoided, it looks like all those people are respecting the various protocols. It looks like what they met for is something that could not wait. I'm sure there wouldn't be an outcry.
Right.
But the outcry is based on the opposite of what I've just said. People look and wonder, did they really have to meet? Did they have to be that close to each other? On and so forth, and they just see irresponsibility. And this is mostly meetings of political leaders and people who want to rise to higher positions in our politics.
Right.
That is important to worry people.
Okay, well, that's interesting. And I can see that we already have Denning Okato on board. We'll be looping him in later on. But yes, like you rightfully put it, pretty much uncalled for these leaders to proceed. But then again, also, their biggest interest being the BBI, being, the change of the referendum. And now Deputy President William Ruto allies, like you had said earlier on, in a paper captured yesterday, plot to bring on board an alternative referendum bill to tackle the BBI. This was bound to happen, don't you think so?
No surprises, although there may be something that people are not getting right. I do not think, just really in my well-considered opinion, I do not think the Jeremiah Kioni bill on the referendum bill is necessarily rising from let me call them the promoters of BBI.
All right.
I do not think so. Look at in the Jeremiah Kioni bill, he is proposing that any referendum be held together with
elections. Yeah.
The proponents or the promoters of BBI are saying that no, the elections, the infrastructure for conducting our elections is one of the things that the BBI process should address. Meaning that before we go to the next elections, we should have addressed that. So it would be in the interest of the promoters of BBI to support a bill that says a referendum happens together with
an election.
I think that's important for us to note. In terms of the supporters of William Ruto coming up with things to put hurdles in the way or to affect the flow of things for the proposed BBI reforms and so on. No surprises. I do not think that will be the only thing. This proposed bill will be the only thing. I'm sure that we may be seeing even other things like other initiatives that they are either sponsoring or coming up with to compete with, if possible, even to run ahead of the proposed BBI constitutional amendments and other proposals. No surprises at all, because they've brought political competition into this. I think, unfortunately, for this process, it is looked at in the context of political competition, and right now it's extremely difficult to extract it from that context.
Well, this bill by Jeremiah Kioni goes ahead to just clearly remind us that indeed we probably are not in the best of state to hold a referendum, maybe financially and all that, having come from 2 elections at some point in time, now grappling with COVID-19. I mean, we probably are not well endowed to hold a referendum. But in the event that it sails through and we hold a referendum together with an election, one, is IEBC capable to take us through? 2, will that be logic at all?
Let me begin with the question of resources. That one, for me, I personally reject when I hear people say that we don't have resources to hold even a general election if there was need, or a referendum if there was need to fix something that is affecting the way we manage our public affairs in this country and therefore costing us a lot. The problem is not those processes, those governance processes, for as long as they are necessary. The problem is theft. There's excessive amounts of theft of public resources. If we could just hold back just a little bit, a small percentage of the theft, we have more than we need to hold a referendum, as long as we deem this referendum necessary for fixing our governance infrastructure, the way we manage our affairs in this country. If we deem it that it's too costly to us, the ultimate cost, by the way, of bad governance is a lot more, you cannot even enumerate, than a couple of tens of billions of shillings. Secondly, we use past elections as referenda as a measure to sort of guess how much it will cost us. Those have been fraught with, plunder, with corruption, and also with theft. They should never have cost what we were told that they cost. If you look just at small tiny items like how much the IEBC pays lawyers, their advocates, you are shocked that should it cost that the public that much? Would that chairman, for example, pay that much for the similar service if this advocate was acting for him in his personal capacity, same service? I doubt. So there's a lot of fraud. There's been a lot of fraud and plunder in past processes, and yet we use those processes as benchmarks for what similar processes or related processes should cost us. Having said that, can IEBC, conduct a referendum in the absence of anything different? We do not have a choice. We would have to go with the IEBC.
All right.
They do have a minimum quorum in terms of 3, the commissioners, that is. And remember, there's a whole infrastructure in terms of the secretariat, but it's inadequate. I absolutely, agree with that it's inadequate. But in the absence of anything better, then what choice do we have? They have held by-elections and we have accepted. I don't see them any different from what they were, even with a few people from the commission or from the secretariat. And guess what? If they stay, part of the BBI proposals that we were told about in the report of the task force was reform of IEBC. That would have to be one of the things that we deal with. That how do we ensure that we get a better elections management system and agency or body?
All right. That's so interesting. Yeah.
The fact that we do not have a choice, it's IEBC would have to do to handle it.
Before we bring in Denning, I mean, are you trying to say that then, as Kenyans, we've been rendered to that point where, you know, we'll just have to take everything that is brought to us simply because we do not have a choice? I mean, don't we have a way of having these conversations that are going to give us choices that are going to be helpful towards ensuring that we get proper leadership and, you know, I mean, proper laws coming on board? Because as it stands, we already have the 2010 constitution that has not been implemented in totality, yet we are here grappling to bring on board a different one.
So in failure to faithfully implement the 2010 constitution, I'm in agreement. That's also part of what I argue, that we failed. Unfortunately, as citizens, you know, we must take responsibility because we cheered on those who had the primary responsibility. Primary responsibility of ensuring implementation of a constitution, it belongs to government. All of us have a duty, but primary responsibility to provide leadership, that was the role of government. When they were trashing this constitution from around 2013, millions of Kenyans cheered them on. That's fine. For as long as they use that to defeat their political opponents, it's fine. So unfortunately, we have to live with that. But then looking on the other side, we have to see where we have failed, including what has made it easier and possible for those in charge to fail us in terms of failing to provide leadership in the implementation of the constitution, and attempt to use this same constitution to fix that. Not only the constitution, but even our public policy platforms, even our legislative platforms, even our politics. How can we use all these platforms to fix the weaknesses that allowed people who were supposed to be responsible for providing leadership in implementing our constitution to fail us, and actually some of us cheered them on and said this is fine as long as it helps them to defeat their political opponents. And on what you say, I'm not confining us to fate and saying that we don't have a choice, therefore we must accept anything and everything thrown at us. No, I am just being practical that what we have, the constitution and the law we have now, the institutions we have now, absence of a process to make them better, what we have to use. For example, the IEBC, we can't make it any better than it is other than using a constitutional and or legal platform to make it better.
Okay.
We can't change the chairman. We can't change the quality of the electoral commissioners. We will not change the quality of those people.
Plus, again, it's quite a process, rather, if at all we are to take that direction. And Advocate of the High Court, Denny Okato, is with me in studio. Good morning, Denny. It's been a minute. You well? Good to have you. And by now, I'm sure you've gotten the gist of what we're having as a conversation. Thank God you've come when we're just starting. The looming referendum aspect and the aspect of, you know, the opposition that is being witnessed against the BBI from the Deputy President William Ruto's, that is allies, or the, you know, that is the faction Tanga Tanga. A majority of them posing as though they are in support of this, but equally highly, you know, propagating hate and, you know, negativity towards the BBI. And the question here is, where did the rain start beating us to a point whereby we're not even upholding what we have already? And what can we do to ensure that we tread careful that this that will be coming next, because then it's obvious that maybe this is going to be there, is not pushed down our throats, that we as Kenyans would be able to go through the documents and proceed to, you know, vote it in or out based on ideologies, based on what we see as facts.
Well, thank you very much, Nina, for that question. Allow me to say that the rain started actually beating us. The moment Kenyans...
Let's hold it right there. I guess we have some technical hitch. We'll fix your sound and then we'll come back to you. But then, Simeha, before we lock on this particular subject, I mean, how best then can we position ourselves to ensure that this is not forced down our throat, that we will make a decisive decision that is going to be helpful and, you know, will help us address the issues that are perennial, especially the aspect of elections and, you know, divisive elections every year, after every 5 years.
I am challenging Kenyans. Look at this as an opportunity that Kenyatta, first year, and his government, are landing you an opportunity to get involved again in redesigning our governance infrastructure, our governance process. There are many things Uhuru Kenyatta and his government have done without consulting us. Some of them extremely unpopular.
Yeah.
People complained that regardless of their political affiliation, they've really been up in arms complaining. But here is one where he and his government, and in partnership with Odinga, are actually inviting citizens to get involved. So my challenge is, get involved fully. Don't limit yourself to criticizing that person, the proponent or opponent or whatnot. Look at the substance and get involved as a Kenyan, so that you snatch, if I must use those words, you snatch this process from their proponents and say, thank you very much for starting this. Now it is ours. Let us now discuss what you have proposed. Let us improve it for Kenya, not for you, not for that leader, not for that party, but for this country. So it's really just incumbent upon us as Kenyans to educate ourselves on what this is about, and use this as an opportunity to attempt to create a better Kenya. Other than leaving it and criticizing it and saying that, we hate those who are proposing it and so on, we avoid getting swallowed in those politics of who is proposing and who is opposing at the national level.
All right, let's now bring in Denning. I'm sure we're okay right now. And yes, I had asked you questions, but I'll couple it up with this as we wind up on this subject. I mean, Simeha brings on board pertinent points, and he says that as Kenyans we should be sober enough to know that this is in the interest of us. But while partly this could be about Kenyans, clearly it's also hugely about the leadership, about vested interest from the level of the leadership. I mean, how genuine can we say that indeed we need a referendum?
Well, allow me to respond to the initial question you had posed.
Yeah.
The rain started beating us where Kenyans refused to take a change or take a direction towards change as regards leaders that we have in this country. And you see, the situation that we have in Kenya is a recycling of leaders. The same leaders who've been there since 1960-something are the leaders who are there 57 years today. So that is the first problem. The second problem is Kenyans have just refused to see the need to vote in leaders who have their interests at heart. And you see, every moment we vote in leaders who do not have our interests at heart, of course we are going to be the people, we are going to be the ball, we are the ones who will be kicked left, right and center. Whereas for them, they remain as either the referees or the coaches. They know what's at stake. And so all the interests that are at play are because of them. For us as Wananchi, we are just the pawns in this game of chess. About the aspect of being genuine as regards the referendum, we must put it very outright. I mean, the Constitution has just been there for 10 years. You see, when you hear these leaders talk in podiums and dioceses, you'll hear them say that this is among the most transformative constitution in Kenya and in Africa and the world over. But then the question that we ask ourselves as Kenyans, why then? Why so soon, Why should we change our constitution 10 years later? And then this now brings in the real situation that it's not the Kenyans who really want the constitution to be changed. And that is why you are seeing now the politicians themselves are at war. And of course, when the politicians are at war, it trickles down to the followers. The followers must now divide themselves in the factions depending on whom they support. And that is exactly what is happening right now. So we are seeing a looming situation where we are going to find Kenyans divided on this issue. And we've already seen it through the movements, Tanga Tanga, Kieleweke. Kenyans are divided in those lines. And that is exactly what is going to happen. And we are going to lose the mark because we are going to amend the constitution, or we are going to a referendum based on the opinions of our leaders. And actually the contribution of Kenyans is going to be very minimal because, of course, what parliamentarians will say is we've had public participation, which exactly is strictly based on what the politicians will tell them. And so this is the moment we tell Kenyans, even if, or rather if we must go to a referendum, this is the time now to be strict, Ensure those public participation sessions are attended. You ask questions. Let the constitution be amended, if at all, based on at least your input, not what the leaders say. Because what we are doing right now, or rather what the politicians are doing right now, they are trying to push the referendum issue down our throats.
Okay.
And that is the problem.
All right, and if at all we have to proceed to have a referendum, then that would mean we genuinely need to reopen activities right here in the country. And our next subject will be then, are there telltale signs of us reopening the economic, the general politicking coming on board or finding its way back? And, talks of, religious leaders calling upon the government to at least revive religious activities in the country, based on how well they would be able to, abide by the measures that have been put on board. I'll ask the two gentlemen. Are we ready at all, looking at the projections that are being given? Right here, we have very few cases, probably conforming a third or less than 3% of the global total is clear within Africa. But then again, as the World Health Organization says, that coronavirus jumped from 100,000 to 200,000 confirmed cases in Africa, showing that it is quickly, gaining momentum or accelerating, of course, in the continent. And indeed, in as much as we are grappling and struggling to see to it whether we can reopen, are we on the best of ground genuinely, Simeha?
I think we are on better grounds than we have seen other countries be on. Just based on the evidence, that we are being given by public health authorities, I think we are on better grounds. However, as we have been warned, this is not something that you can see and therefore tell that you can dodge it. But there's a certain way in which you can affect your behavior that can minimize the effect of this pandemic and allow us to continue with our daily lives, with our economic activities, albeit with a new normal. It cannot be that we can go back to the way we've always done things. We must do things completely differently if we want to survive. I don't think this is something that is, well, I don't have the scientific authority to say this, but just listening to those who have the authority, I do not think this is something that is seasonal, that is with us for a short while and then it will disappear, that we can just wait it out and then it disappears. So even though there are people who are defying, and by the way, the people who are defying and holding all the, especially political meetings, it is because of the weaknesses of our public institutions. If the police, for example, was a strong public institution in defense of the citizens of this country, as was envisaged in the 2010 Constitution, you would not see these things happening. Because the police, beginning with the Inspector General to the lowest officer, would be acting strictly in the public interest without any fear of political repercussions. But because now police is such it was such an institution that has really been weakened, even after 2010 Constitution, the police will not do their work, even public health officials will not do their work as they ought to, because they are always afraid, who might I offend? And if they think that whoever is holding these meetings is themselves the powerful person or connected to someone powerful whom they're afraid of offending, they will pretend and look the other side. And that's why they treat people differently. Look at the funeral of this musician in Jachiga in Luoland, and other funerals that have been held where it has the police, I think, it's just perception, that they have thought, well, for those other funerals, it's fine because, they're not connected to this and that other person. But this one, we can stop people. So it's about weaknesses in our in public institutions. But then back to what I said, yes, we can get back to normal activity, but it has to be a new normal. It can never be the normal that we knew, that we've always known.
All right. On Friday, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i and his health counterpart Mutahi Kagwe jointly appointed an interreligious council chaired by Catholic Archbishop Anthony Muheria to review the opening of churches. And 59% of Kenyans want churches to be reopened under COVID-19 protocols. This is according to a survey released by Infotrack Research conducted in May, and it is targeting 12,000 responses in 24 counties. Denning, when you look at this and also these talks of how best we can ensure that our students go back to school, do you agree with what Simeha say that yes, we might be able to proceed and reopen activities and still manage to stay afloat and also, tame the spread?
Well, for starters, in a country that is very religious like Kenya, I think 59% is quite a very low number.
All right.
Yeah, so it means that really people do not want the churches to be opened. But in the situation of us going back to our normal daily lives, let's say economically, I think it's high time. And my argument is based on the fact that this is a pandemic that will slowly carve into an endemic, you know. It's not going anywhere after all. It will become certainly or somewhat a common disease. So this is something that the government is supposed to be thinking right now. And you see, you might find that the reason why you get people still attending gatherings, people still attending parties, is because of the nature of a human being. You see, if a human being is denied what I can call their freedom, quote unquote, there will be some sort of rebellion, you know? And this is the situation that we are seeing right now. Kenyans have been put in a box right now, a box that they've not been used to, or some people have never actually tried, you know? So when you are put in this box for almost 100 days plus, I mean, your mind and your body start to get this aspect of rebellion. Right. And that is why you'll see people now giving police a hard work, having to run after people. People now want to attend burials as usual, you know, in the name of these are our cultural rights. Yeah. And so we are going to see more of these situations. So when it comes to opening the economy and not forgetting the fact that we are a developing country, I mean, we can only wait for too long. It's time that now the president, as he had indicated earlier on, that his wish would be to open up the economy, only that experts decided, advised him otherwise. So I think after the 30 days which have been extended, it would be very proper that by that time, they would have come up with more protocols. Right now, we see they came up with a protocol of being treated at home. So I'm certain that more protocols will be in place, and the economy can actually start reopening slowly as we even look into ensuring that now this new normal, because right now people are very wary and cautious, you know. Yeah. You cannot leave the house without a mask. You have a sanitizer in your bag, you know. Those are the new normals. Those are the new things that now we have to adapt to. And I can tell you for free, if right now the president said that, yes, you are free to do, I'm telling you, because now it will be God for us all and man for himself. People will be very careful because now there's no one who is watching you. So I think we are ready, just that I think the government is still a little bit scared, but we are ready actually to start going back to our normal businesses. After all, business is back. Look at the traffic snarl-ups on our roads. Yeah.
Well, ready but scared. And just to give you heads up on the same, you know, Ministry of Health says that COVID-19 bodies must not be buried at night if preserved well. And like you say, Matatu operators on the spot for floating rules to carry cargo under COVID-19 hardships. And another one right here is that Manyani Maximum Prison inmates test positive for COVID-19. People with non-communicable diseases are at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19. And Kenya confirmed 137 new coronavirus cases as of yesterday, 32 recoveries, 3 deaths, and of course the total number now standing at 3,594. And ODM leader Raila Odinga takes COVID-19 test. I mean, gentlemen, are you as eager to know his results as, of course, he came out in public to tell the world that indeed he's taken the test?
I think it's important for leaders to always lead by example, especially particularly on things that they tell citizens to do. Yeah, encourage citizens to do. We've been, I'm sure you saw how much Hassan Joho, governor, was pleading, almost crying with citizens of his county to come out untested, and showing their defiance. So it's a very good thing when leaders on anything that they encourage citizens to do, to lead by example. So I think it's a good thing that he did. His results are beyond just being a personal thing, because when you are tested, you are given results as a person. If he was sick, let's imagine the worst. if he was sick, it would also be good. If sick, I mean, if he was COVID-19 positive, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you are positive, you're sick. So I withdraw that thing of saying if you are sick.
Yeah.
If say he was positive, the other good thing would be for him to say publicly, oh, I'm positive. I found out that I went for this test, I'm positive. So that people can all see that it's not for a particular population section. It can get anyone, as Kagwe said, even you can get it. So he would be showing that, any one of us has to be extraordinarily cautious that we can get this COVID-19 if we are not cautious about our behavior.
Right.
And just a quick one in there that I'm hoping that all of us, but especially public authorities, can use, let me use this opportunity created by this crisis to force a change in our behavior, especially in public places, in mass transport, around markets, our markets, in social places, in bars, in churches, in name it. I just hope that they can put their foot down and force change in our behavior for the better, using this opportunity provided by a crisis.
All right, this too has exposed how Africa has been disintegrated, for that matter, in as much as our leaders continue to preach the need for African integration. Then in coming to you, I know you'd love to hear what the results of Baba would be. So yes, Africa in a way thinks that it is dependent on the West, yet it's probably the vice versa. And because we feel like we're still growing, then there's that fear that if we continue locking ourselves out, it would mean then that we are going to end up on the verge of losing almost everything that we've built so far. One, how best can we ensure that out of this we get to learn ways of ensuring that we solidify African integration, African trade, African togetherness? And above everything, how can we confidently say that as Africans we are able to come out of this as we work together?
Well, maybe to comment on Baba's issue, I think this will be it's my wish that it will be the 5th time he was taking the test, not the first one,
Yeah.
Because anyway, he interacts with people every day. So anyway, we hope that he may be confident enough to announce the result just as he publicized his taking the test. So coming to the African situation, I wouldn't say that we are dependent because that is the situation. We are dependent because we still have colonized minds. That's my take.
Right.
Let's take an example for our country. 57 years down the line, I mean, you look at our own houses of parliament going to sit and debating on how they can raise the ceiling to 9 trillion, Right now, we are at a very bad state. But still, these people will meet and keep raising the ceiling. Why? Because this money's come, yes, since 1963, and the mind that the Mzungu left here is still the same mind that is in application. And that is why you would easily say we are dependent on the West, because they've made us look like without them, we cannot survive. Look at this situation. Right now, you'll hear IMF has given us something, World Bank has given us something. Just the other day, you heard Kagame say that Africa can actually rise on its own, because we are still on the floor as we speak, as Africa. We are still on the floor. And the moment we show the West that we can actually work independently without their help per se, because the only thing that I think maybe we would need from them is expertise, not really matters of finances and all that, because you do realize the raw materials that were taken from Africa are what developed those countries. And we are not short of those raw materials yet. We have everything here. But then tenders are awarded to companies from the West. What do? They give kickbacks, you get the tender, everybody eats, and it does not go back to the economy. So ultimately, the whole of this thing, and you'll take it to the bank, it still trickles down to this disease that we always talk about, corruption, because that is now, it's a disease that we have. It should actually be added among the 4 things that President Kenyatta, the founding father, stated, because corruption is now deep-rooted. And you'll find we have very transformative leaders and progressive leaders in Africa, Look at the president of Tanzania. Many people would hate him, but when you look at how he does his things, actually you can count the number of times he has flown out of the country to attend summits and conferences. Because he asked the question, why should I? What is the essence of an ambassador, a high commissioner, That is their work. So if we get 10 leaders like Magufuli,
Mugabe,
who can actually convince...
May his soul rest in peace.
Yes, who can actually convince people to do as he thinks things are right. No, we are not talking as regards the coronavirus situation. We are talking about development agenda, So if we get someone who can do such, if we get 10 people, I think Africa can get back to the rise. Yes.
All right, that's incredible. I said Mugabe for record purposes, Mr. Director, so you don't quote me wrongly. So I think on that very note, gentlemen, let's take a short break. We'll be coming back, have 15 minutes to wind up on the subject of discussion. Of course, as we cross over to a different segment altogether. After this break, we'll be back. Welcome back to Morning Cafe. We're on the last laps of the current affairs segment and we'll be crossing over to a different segment on matters lifestyle. But before we do that, I don't know whether we have Simehar. Do we have him? All right. Simehar, do you suppose that the disunity that we witness today in Africa is our biggest undoing?
No doubt. There's something your studio guest said about the need for us to decolonize the mind. That thing is so important. It's so fundamental.
Right.
And I think it lies at the core of everything we get wrong. In our education, in our health, in our national heritage and history, I could go on and on and on, that we must decolonize the mind. That if we went back to our histories, of the peoples of Africa, we would discover that things began to go terribly wrong when our minds were captured. And then we have been unable to get out of that capture. I believe that any opportunity we get to revisit the way we manage our public affairs, agenda number one should always be about decolonizing the mind, so that we can have pride in our African heritage, so that we can know that the solutions we need for our human development to improve the quality of life of an African have to begin with the African, that the solutions are here. And indeed, again, as if I may use what your studio guest said earlier, this COVID-19 has been a crisis, but an opportunity to open our eyes to that fact, that you can lock out all those other people whom we need to interact with, no doubt, and so on. But you can. It has shown us that our lives don't entirely depend on them, that we can depend on ourselves, so that when we relate with other people, we relate from a position of strength, not as beggars.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Denning, calling upon his counterparts to bank on the youth in fighting COVID-19. Do you suppose he's genuine, while our very own youths right here are complaining of being sidelined, of being neglected?
I tell you what, politicians will always be politicians, and they will remain as so.
All right.
I mean, why now? You know? We've been having battles, be it on the social media, be it in real life, you know, asking the president, I mean, why don't you think the youths are capable also? But then now we have COVID. Well, of course, it's jobs that have been lost. That is why we have Vijana Mtaani and all that. But I mean, it's the West situation to use to get the youths to your side, you know. This Vijana Mtaani should not have been something that is supposed to happen right now when the situation is quite dire, you know. We need such programs even when things are rosy and merrier, so that we know our youths are actually cushioned. Because if right now you can give 10 billion shillings in the proposed budget to Vijana Mtaani, you see, when things were rosier, it would be even 50 billion. And I can tell you, youths would actually be at a better point, not at this moment. So I would strongly say it's actually a 60-40 situation, whereby 60, the president is not genuine, 40% the president is genuine. That would be my take. All
right, Zime, as we wind up on this, it's been hard to find a way of working together regionally, East Africa. And now we are extending this to a level of the continent. How effective can the joint continental strategy of COVID-19 or on COVID-19 be towards, one, addressing this, and most importantly, you know, charting way forward for a better Africa?
We will be forced by circumstances. Previously, we've been very hard-headed. But as some people have observed, so though others have thought it's a joke, that because African presidents can no longer fly out to go look for solutions out there in Europe, in America, in India, and so on, especially for medical conditions, they are forced by circumstances to look within. So the next place they look, if they don't have it at home, is one of the African countries in their region. If not, even in another region, they will look, can I go to Egypt? Can I go to South Africa for this or the other? So we will be forced by circumstances. This COVID-19, a terrible tragedy as it is a blessing in disguise for us with regards to this agenda that we are discussing. That even in the region, you know, when certain calamities occur, and you can trace them, occur in a country, and you can trace them to failure of cooperation, that something could have been avoided if we had closer cooperation. That something can, for example, can befall the president of, say, South Sudan, and it could be avoided if we had closer cooperation. It is going to force us to wake up and cooperate as this region, as this continent.
Okay. All right, let's cross over to a different subject altogether right here in the country on matters of politics. And this is something that we had touched on earlier on as we were reviewing the newspaper. I'll come to you, Denning, and Waiguru's fate lies with the Senate, which is set to, of course, hear the impeachment proceedings on Tuesday. And, you know, Senate plenary to discuss rules of this procedure, that is today. And equally, the Senate House Business Committee has recommended the formation of about 11-member special committee to substantiate the allegations, something that also has been disputed by a couple of other senators, arguing that we should have the entire Senate deliberating on this. Obviously, there is that intense political lobbying, to ensure that at least Waiguru survives. What do you make of all this drama of impeachment right from that day, that was on Tuesday, up until today?
I think these are good theatrics all the way from the county assembly of Kirinyaga. And I mean, you say trouble always follow you if you are a troublemaker.
Okay.
It's not the first time Waiguru has been on the news, matters corruption and all that. Now she's a county governor, and now the MCAs, the persons who are supposed to approve her budgetary allocations and such like things, are against her, because you see, out of 33 MCAs, 24 not being on your side, you are not doing well at all. And so my take is, if indeed the president is keen on ensuring that he whips these people who are corrupt, you know, because a governor is a powerful person. If the president is indeed very keen on that, he would allow the Senate process to be very seamless, because you see, whenever there is fire, there will be smoke somewhere. Whenever there is smoke, there is fire somewhere. So when you hear people say that there is already a plan for them to have an 11-member committee, you see, it's very easy, because once the committee brings its report, that's the report that will be deliberated upon, you know.
That you suppose will have been crafted by...
Exactly. Okay. And it's very easy for someone to prevail upon the committee and ensure that the report that the committee gives is in their favor. So my take would be, the precedent that was set in Waititu's case, let us follow that precedent, and let this be the situation, so that going to the future, these governors will not sit, do shady deals and corrupt dealings, and then expect to come and be heard through a Senate committee. So I would really go for the plenary, whereby all senators will be seated there. The only problem is now this COVID pandemic, you know, spacing and all that. But this can still be done. They have virtual transmission of all these things. Let the plenary sit, let senators debate on the floor of the House, let Waiguru defend herself in the House, where Kenyans can actually see also. And then I'm sure God is on the side of Kenyans. Yes.
All right. Well, Kieleweke seems to be on the side of Governor Anne Waiguru, and so is ODM. Even if the entire Senate was to proceed and, you know, oversee this hearing, do you suppose then that she would still not be lucky, or she would, you know, face it a little bit different if the 11-member would have proceeded to do the same, Simeha? Because then clearly we had what Junet Mohammed said, that is Suna East Member of Parliament Junet Mohammed yesterday, coming out to say that, you know what, as ODM, we uphold leadership of women, and we'll be right here to ensure that Madam Anne Waiguru is saved. Though Right Honorable Raila Odinga denied meeting her, and also said that he has not called upon any member of the ODM party to proceed and save Madam Anne Waiguru.
I think I should hope that as ODM, the party says that it upholds leadership with integrity, not just any man or not just any woman because they are a woman. Of course, it's a very positive thing when we break ceilings and have people who have been, you know, historically marginalized take positions of leadership, but not just for the sake of gender or for the sake of any other kind of demography, like they're young or they're this or that. But it has to be about the quality of their leadership. You know what, as I said earlier, one, it's important to always test the provisions of a constitution. Like muzzles, if you don't test them, they can wither away. So it's important for the Kirinyaga Assembly to do what they are doing. Secondly, the second thing why it's important, you know, because it's very, don't expect any miracles. We have had this corruption happen at all levels, where when a leader is accused of something, whether wrongly or rightfully, they can easily buy off the accusers. So the second good thing about this process going up to where it has gone is that it moves to the national stage and it exposes it more to more public scrutiny. So whether it will end up in a conviction or not by the Senate or not, it has exposed it to public scrutiny for people of Kenya to see and judge for themselves. Because right now, don't expect too much from our institutions, from our public institutions. They will not change overnight. They have let us down since the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. I think the next best opportunity is where one, in my opinion, will get an opportunity to participate in doing something about the way we manage our public affairs, and then elections. That where we are being again given an opportunity to put in place new people. But for now, nothing different from what we saw in 2013, 2014, 2017, 18. It may even be worse because of the current political dynamics.
All right. Okay, thank you. As we wind up on this, Denning, in 30 seconds, what do you think about Baba the sanitizer?
I mean, it's it's wrong to make people kuwa weupe kama pamba.
All right.
Yeah, if someone is doing bad things, I mean, let them suffer the consequences. Do not have a laundromat which sanitizes people. Someone enters very corrupt and then they leave out as if they are archangels. Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. We can only wait to see, of course, as of now. The documents that were transmitted to the Senate are, of course, the Kirinyaga County Assembly Hansard report of the proceedings during the impeachment, the evidence of the allegations used to support the impeachment motion, and the list of the MCAs who voted and the respective charges that were presented. Of course, Waiguru was impeached on Tuesday over allegations of abuse of office and a gross violation of the Constitution, and the motion was backed by 23 MCAs out of 33. We'll be following up on that story, and we get to update you as and when it reaches our editorial desk. And on this particular one, that will be the end or the last bit of this conversation, is on the fuel prices that were presented yesterday by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. New fuel prices that will run up to mid-July. As it is, petrol goes up by 5.77 as shillings, and diesel decreases by 3.80, and equally kerosene as cost went down. What do you make of this, the latest? Because then it's always a conversation that is there, especially when we have a review of the prices. I mean, a little bit different even as we continue to grapple with COVID-19, Simeha.
Yeah, I mean, what I know about the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority is that they use a formula, to determine these prices. But I know that when people think about it, it doesn't stop at the formula. Perceptions also come in. I think the quick question will be, has the uptake of petroleum products the world over, because it's not just determined by what happens in Kenya. In fact, it's determined more by what happens out there. Has the uptake of petroleum products, particularly petrol, so picked up that the demand has gone up that it would immediately like this affect our prices by such a big margin? Because 6 shillings is quite something. About 6 shillings, rounded up, is quite something. I think that is what is on the perception of what would be in the perception of Kenyans. I think in future, hopefully, I doubt that this will come up. The good thing would be to educate people for us to know what to expect. If we could manage our expectations, if they could be a lot more open in terms of what they use, so that we don't get a perception that when it's about raise, they are very quick at it, but when it's about lowering, the conditions demand lowering, as they've shown us, they are very slow to it. They leave us always suspecting that they are up to mischief. Yeah, so managing expectations of the public by sharing information, by constantly educating the public on the factors that determine the variances in terms of prices of
which is not always the case, like you rightfully put it. And I would want to know from you, do you suppose then, from you, Denning, do you suppose then that this will hugely adjust the market chains as it stands right now?
Yes, absolutely. You see, once the pandemic hit the world over, fuel prices, or rather the demand for fuel went actually down, because now most people have been indoors, the stay-at-home policy, so people have not really been consuming. But we do realize that now most parts of the world, things are getting back to normal. You'll realize snarl-ups on the roads and such like things. So demand actually is now going high. And you'll also realize that as the demand is going high,
Yeah.
the supply was quite little, because now is when countries are beginning to open up now the oil sector and the petroleum sector. So it was expected that it's going to go high,
Right.
and I'm sure it's going to rise even higher in the coming days.
Okay. Well, as we also touch on this, I think on that very note, we can only wait. It's a developing story, so we'll update you on what plays out in the course of the day. But then again, coming back to you, Denning, the courts are set to reopen today. What do you make of this, being an advocate?
Well, some sort of, not really happiness.
Yes.
At least it's a step in the right direction. I will tell you for free, advocates have really, let me use the word suffered for lack of a better term. The 2 and something months that the courts have been closed, advocates have really been hard hit. You saw recently the Law Society went to court.
Right.
The court ruled that lawyers should be listed as essential service providers. Matiang'i and the AG did not go by the court order. So we were forced to just use the order by the court. But then it has been a hurdle, you know. Crossing over into the boundaries going to represent clients has
Yeah.
been quite hard. But again, you do realize that we've had virtual court sessions, but then it's hard to have a witness in a virtual court session. You can imagine in a criminal case whereby the accused person is still in remand. So how will you bring them up to speed when it comes to hearing the cases? So actually, it's a step in the right direction. Let courts be open. Let justice be accessed now in the right way. Of course, this has been done following the Ministry of Health guidelines and protocols. So we hope to see people conforming to those directions, both by the courts and Ministry of Health. But judiciary will keep on issuing statements on how this one is going to be achieved.
What about the stalemate that is there between the judiciary and the executive? Do you suppose that it can be amicably addressed before we come back to Simeho?
Yes, I think it can be amicably addressed, because you see, I would say these are not really ego plays. We can call them power plays, you know, between the executive, because the Attorney General sits in the cabinet, you know. He's somewhat the cabinet secretary for justice and legal affairs. Yeah, so he sits in the executive, so he's a member of the executive, whereas now the Chief Justice is on this other arm. And so this war is something that is quite uncalled for and something unexpected. But then, of course, any reasonable person who is just walking on the road will tell that the executive is on the wrong on this one, because it's not something that has started today. Disobedience of court orders and such like things are things that we've seen happening by government officials and state officials. And so what the Chief Justice is trying to say is, I have reached a point between a hard place and a rock. And if I do not speak, history will judge me harshly. So I have to come up. After all, when you read Article 159 of the Constitution, judicial authority vests in the people of Kenya. And so the Chief Justice was very right to come up in defense of Wanjiku and trying to tell the people that here I'm not the problem. The executive is the problem. And so hopefully very soon, we hope that pressure will pile up, as it is right now, through the Law Society of Kenya and advocates at large, and every Kenyan of goodwill. Pressure is going to pile, and we hope that the president is going to act accordingly.
Why I picked on this one is because, again, Chief Justice David Maraga is trending on Twitter, of course, in regards to these battles that have been there. And I come to you, Joseph Simeho. Do you agree with Denning that indeed in this case, or this time around, the executive is on the wrong side? He would say that because he's an advocate.
No, not this time around. And you know what? Justice is not just about advocates and law courts. You know, justice is for everyone, ought to be for everyone. So everyone needs to be very concerned about what happens. You know, courts. Let me just remind us something, that when everything collapsed in Somalia, the country called Somalia, the first form of authority that Somalis accepted was something called the Union of Islamic Courts. I'm saying that to illustrate the importance of a judiciary. a dispute resolution mechanism, an arbitration mechanism. It is the last bastion that you do not want to play around with. Even if you want to collapse everything, you want to collapse the legislature, you want to collapse the mechanisms for the executive, the best would be leave in place the judiciary, because even you who is doing that, you will need it. And it's one of those things that, for me, is an example of why we need to rethink and tighten our governance mechanisms. What is it that makes it easier for the executive to do what they are doing to the judiciary, to disobey court orders, to meddle in the affairs of the Judicial Service Commission, to purport that they have some kind of overall supervisory authority over the Judicial Service Commission and the overall governance of the judiciary? What is it that we got wrong in the architecture of the design of the Judicial Service Commission that we could reopen and do something about it to cut out this mischief? So in essence, I've just used all those illustrations to agree that it is so important, and not just for advocates, for every person who seeks justice now, who will in future inevitably need justice as a shield and protector. You know, it is not going to be a shield and protector if we don't have a mechanism that we all yield to, respect, and whose authority we respect to administer.
All right.
So that is why when you see this happening, it should never be entertained that people, it doesn't matter who it is, even the president, should meddle in the independence of the judiciary.
While, of course, the judiciary is considered to be independent, we highly depend on it equally to see some of these issues that you've mentioned being disseminated genuinely for the people. Denning, yes. Why do you suppose, or what do you think has made the judiciary to receive all this bashing and battles named or mated upon them, at some point being pinpointed as the missing link on the fight against graft, based on how it has handled some of these cases? Do you think the judiciary in a way has failed us, that, I mean, has justified why they should get all this bashing?
Well, we all know where the bashing comes from, and it's from a very emotional point of view.
Is it?
Yes. You see, the revisiting statement was not just a jest. Actually, it's manifesting in the very wrong ways.
If we overlook that, and look at how many cases have not been settled at the level of the judiciary, the corruption cases, I mean, high-profile people being left to go scot-free, and as much as it's enshrined in the Constitution that these people are innocent until proven guilty, I mean, don't you think that we would have highly expected the judiciary to push it even harder so we get answers to some of these key questions?
I will tell you, Linda, that the issue of the cases going slow or taking a while is not actually the problem of the judiciary per se.
Yes.
You see, when you rely on human resource, human, I mean, that's why we take rest, that's why we take leaves, you know, so that we can cool down our bodies. So if you look at it very keenly, the problem starts with the judiciary fund, you know, provided at Article 173. The executive is strangling the judiciary fund, you know. Look at the budgetary allocations. Right now, it's only 18 billion shillings. What the parliament has been given is 37 billion shillings. And when you look at it very keenly, you do realize the judiciary does quite a lot of things, you know. And that is where the problem starts, because if you give little money to the judiciary, you expect it to construct modern courts, you expect it to hire judicial officers and judicial staff. I mean, that money becomes little. And so it becomes hard on the part of the Judicial Service Commission to hire magistrates, you know, to hire judges who can actually come in place and help complete these cases. Look at the Court of Appeal, you know. Right now the Court of Appeal has very little judges. And the 11 that were recommended by the JSC are still hanging on the loop. So that is where the problem is. And it must be said very well that when it comes to prosecution of cases, let's look at the one you gave with the example, corruption cases. You see, the judiciary went a step further and designated an anti-corruption court, you know. That is the first step in the right direction, having a special court that deals with matters corruption. And actually at Milimani we have an anti-corruption division in the High Court, you know, judges who handle strictly corruption cases. And so prosecution of cases is done by the DPP, and then the defense is done by the defense attorneys. So you cannot blame the judiciary in one way. what the judge does is to act as an umpire who is very impartial, you know, just to listen, take down the arguments that are being made by advocates from both sides, and give a ruling. So if cases are, let's say, adjourned by the Director of Public Prosecutions, or today the accused person is not in court, and such like things, do you think the judge really has a problem in that? Absolutely not.
All right, Joseph Simeha, our courts today, the judiciary itself, bedeviled so much highly on matters to do with questionable integrity as it stands today. We know of notable cases that are still pending, I know, based on, of course, the processes of law. Do you suppose then that, again, President Uhuru Kenyatta would be justified to say that, you know what, we are not going to appoint these 41 judges based on this and this, and the fact that they have questionable integrity, and this needs to be looked into?
No. It is. I'm even struggling to find politer words, but anyhow, it is. It is.
Call it as it is.
It is disingenuous for him to say that. I do not doubt that there are many judicial officers in office right now who have questionable integrity, who have done things for which they ought to be subjected to due process and removed from the judiciary. And if indeed among those 41 who were recommended for appointment by the Judicial Service Commission, they are serving judicial officers who have questions of integrity, maybe even criminal record, it is dishonest, in my opinion, for the president to allege that because of that such information he won't appoint them, yet the same president and or the attorney general won't trigger a process of removal, because remember, they are judges. They will not be judges because they've moved to the Court of Appeal. Those who among them are judges, and most of them are from the 41, list of 41. Why then don't you institute a process of removal or appoint them? Nothing stops a judge who has been appointed a month ago or 2 months. Nothing stops anyone who has credible evidence of commission of an offense that should result in removal, starting a process for their removal. So when I hear the Attorney General making those explanations, besides what has been said about him being in the Judicial Service Commission, I just think this is dishonest, and he's thumping up their nose at Kenyans, because who is suffering, by the way? Who is suffering is not Maraga. Maraga is going to retire very soon, maybe in just about 4 months or so, maybe 5 or so months. He may be proceeding on terminal leave. It's not Maraga going to suffer. They are hurting Kenyans. When they deny the judiciary budgetary allocation, when they squeeze and terrorize the judiciary, they are hurting Kenyans without exemption, especially Kenyans of little means, while they have very many other means, including, means that I don't want to speak about, to take care of their interests. There are all these millions of Kenyans whose means is only access to judicial systems and processes. So it's very disappointing. I do not think they have any reasonable or any excuse, leave alone reasonable, to do what they are doing.
Right, it's a conversation that we can have until the cows come back home. So we'll not delve deeper into that. We just watch and see what the events will be like. Thank you so much, Joseph Simeha, political strategist, and Denning Okatu, advocate of the High Court. It was great having you, gentlemen, and we're looking forward to more sessions as we crack on issues that affect us directly and indirectly. And it's time now that we take a short break. We'll be coming back with a different segment altogether on Matters Lifestyle. Jeffrey Dunga, who's a special effects makeup artist, will be joining me. And indeed, it's going to be an interesting conversation. So don't you go anywhere. See you after that break.
Thank you and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Welcome back to Morning Cafe, and it's time for the lifestyle segment right here this Monday morning. We take a look at how special effects makeup can be. And of course, joining me on set is Jeffrey Ndunga, who's a special effects makeup artist. I mean, we're going to have fun. I don't know, I would have expected you to come with the makeup so we can try something and see how effective that can be. Good morning.
Morning.
You well?
Thank you, I'm well.
Good to have you.
Good to have you too. Thank you for having me.
Yes, and so how special is special effects makeup?
Special effects makeup, it's an amazing world. I can say world because only the artist can understand the word world.
Right.
We go deep into the creative world to bring that to reality. Yeah.
All right, so when you say that only the artist can understand, are you meaning this makeup artist? Because I'm meant to understand that most of the times when you have these special effects, it's because of probably acting purposes or special purposes. So when you limit to just the artist, what does it mean? I mean, don't you get directions from the people who probably want the end product as opposed to you yourself?
Yes, that's why I'm saying only the artist can understand.
The artist now you're generalizing, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
So everybody is an artist. Yeah, I can say that. But we have the different arts in different categories or different aspects.
It's obviously different from the normal makeup. So how different is it and how special is it?
We have there is much difference of normal makeup and special effects, because not every makeup artist can do special effects,
right?
And not every makeup artist can do special effects. Not unless you understand and you learn how to do it.
What does it take to understand and to learn and to know this?
That one, first you have to have a passion, and next you have to be creative and have interest in it. Yeah.
So do you go to school to learn about that, or you just have interest and that's it?
For me, I learned special effects through YouTube. I went to YouTube, I searched for the how to do special effects in different, like to do a fake wood, deep cut. So all that I learned from YouTube.
Well, so what are the key differences and what are the key similarities between special effects makeup and the normal makeup?
The normal makeup, I can say they are both like relating in a way, because you have to have this final product, like the final image on your head before you start doing it for both of them. But the difference is special effects, you have to be more creative than the normal makeup. Yeah.
So which one is simpler? It means if this is because you love it, and you know sometimes one would say for the love this becomes then simple, but do you suppose it is simpler than the normal makeup? And do you yourself know how to do the normal makeup?
Yes, I know how to do.
So you have to pass that process where you have to know the normal makeup first to proceed to special effects? No,
it's the normal makeup. It's different from special effects makeup, because that one, the special effects have to be. There's products for special effects and there's products for the normal makeup.
So there's a way you can be good at special effects and not good at all.
Totally different.
Makeup. Okay.
Totally different. You can be good in special effects makeup and also be good on normal makeup. Yeah.
How's the market like in the country? Like, is there a market for special effect makeup artists?
The market is very down because of the restriction of the KFC, Kenya
Film
Commission.
Board,
yes, but we are going there. We are heading there because now we have so many creatives in the country, and I think in future we'll be at the top.
What informs these regulations and restrictions? What do you think would be informing this? Because I would want to believe this is creation of employment. This should be in the interest of KFC because it's in the artistic world. Why is it that they have so much restrictions, and what are some of these restrictions that we're talking about?
That's I've been wondering, because we have been in a negotiation with them, because they don't allow the, let's say, foreign filmmakers to come and shoot in the country. Just they have to pass through your work and see what you are going to shoot. So if there is some images, even the tax, it's very high to shoot here in Kenya. So that one it's limiting us.
Is a polite way of saying that you rarely, put this into practice in the country?
Yes, but we are pushing. Yeah, we are pushing, and in future I think we will overcome all this.
How soon are you expecting this to be?
Next year.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, probably next year.
Take us through your experiences with it. Or we do, doing makeup, that is special effects makeup so far, amid all the struggles that are there.
For the makeup, special effects makeup, when I went to school to learn to learn the normal makeup, so I got that interest. I went to the Google and searched all the types of makeup. So I got the special effects makeup for film. So I decided to just give it a try. So I just did a small cut on my cheek.
Okay.
Then I posted it on my Facebook. It was just a hobby. So within 15 minutes, I was getting calls from my friends telling me what has happened, what you can go far, this is special. So I told them this is a special effects makeup. So they told me, you can go very far by doing special effects makeup. So from that, I developed an interest of doing more. So I did more research and I did more creative special effects. Yeah.
So what are some of the projects that you have worked on, if any at all?
Like for now, let's say I've worked in so many projects. Even beginning of this year, I did some special effects makeup for a Hollywood film shoots in Kitale. Okay. Yeah, thank you to the producer Mugi. It's a Hollywood producer.
Okay.
And I also did. There are some others I did, but they have not come out yet. But I will speak more of them when they come out. Yeah.
All right. Are you able, like randomly, if I tell you now that I need this, are you able to achieve any kind of demand that is requested of you or is presented?
Yes, right now I can create any type of special effect makeup. Even if you want to, let's say zombies, and that one we've been seeing in Walking Dead. This one I'm able to create. I can create fresh woods. I can create alsa wood. Everything I can create now. Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
3 years now.
3 years.
Yes.
And you are that good.
I thank God.
Do you intend to expound it even further by probably going to school?
No, I think I'm still
better
learning.
just tell us the difference. Is because people have to pay so much to be able to learn some of these things. What has been your experience learning from YouTube? And do you suppose then there's probably no point of someone proceeding to pay so much to get to learn this?
I think there are some things skills you can't learn from YouTube, because you'll see them on YouTube, then you try them, then they fail.
They backfire.
It's just
on you.
like the normal makeup. When you see it, then you try to do it, then it gives you totally different image. But I think it's good to go to school to learn and also use YouTube. YouTube, you can use it, because I used to YouTube, and now you can see I did some shoots with Hollywood producers. Yeah, so I think all depends in, let's say, in your interest, the interest you have in passion you have in creating those images.
All right. Let's talk about the products. And sometimes, even for me, it's hard to get makeup products, genuine ones, legit ones in the market. Do we have more of a special effects makeup products in the country? And if not so, how do you get to access them?
For special effects products, we have been struggling to get them, because you can't get them locally. Not unless you buy from another special effects makeup artist. But we have been, like for me, I've been importing them from UK and US, which is also a challenge, because it takes from Amazon, it takes 1 week to 2 weeks for them to arrive in the country. So you can't get the special effects makeup products in the country.
Do you have basic ones? Are there basic ones on special effects that you say, okay, on this one you have to find, you have to have it?
Yes, for special effects products, you have to have latex. Latex, it's used to, you can't do any special effects without latex. And also the fake blood. There is different types of blood. There is fresh, there is 1 week wood. Yeah, so they are very, very, very different. Yeah.
All right, if you're using it on someone, there are cases of reactions with makeup normally. You know, there are very many of them. How do you ensure that this does not react with the person that you are using it on? Or would we say that the makeup are well orchestrated to ensure that at least, you know, they are safe for use, any skin type, any person and all that?
Yes, that's why you have to go and learn about skincare to understand those products, to understand what you are supposed to use in this skin, because we have different types of skins, and some people have allergies, some people have acne, so you have to learn on how to use those products. So those products, that's why you have to learn about skincare, so that you can understand more about when you're doing special effects on what to use on that person. Yeah.
Locally, has any film industry or any film, you know, team approached you to work with them?
Locally, yes. I've been approached by so many producers here in Kenya, and we have did some projects together, but they are not yet out.
Like you
yeah,
said,
but I'm hoping soon they'll be out and show people what we did.
And now that you've had the chance to work from, you know, like with people from different areas, one would be eagerly waiting to know or would want to understand what difference is there, you know, when it comes to such effects locally, and how we embrace this, on how much we incorporate this in our scripts in comparison to what is experienced on, of course, Hollywood, like you have rightfully put it, like you have said. And moving forward, what could be the key challenges that we are talking about? Like you rightfully put it, we have KFC being a challenge, and I don't know how much lobbying has been done towards ensuring that that is addressed. So, I mean, key would be, is there a huge difference? Like you said, the film industry, Hollywood, Nollywood, Bollywood is a whole different from Riverwood, which is most common right here in the country. So what is the notable difference that you've seen while working with the Hollywood guys and also working with local guys?
The local guys, I can say, what I've noticed, because I've watched so many projects which have been done by the local makeup artists, and I've also watched the that one for Nigerians, it's called, and also for Indians. But let's say we are so much far from the makeup artists from Hollywood. Yes, but
far in what sense? Like we are way ahead of them, or they are way ahead of us?
They are ahead of us for now, but not ahead of me. All right,
that's well, that's why they picked you to work with them.
Because I've been seeing people creating those special effects from, let's say, from Africa. They makeup artists from Africa, but you see there is, you can notice this as special effects. It's fake, like it's fake from. So I think there is much difference, and that's why I want to train people on how to create the real image of what you are required to create. Like if it's wood, how to create it. If it's fresh wood, I want to train more young people so that they can understand and reach that level of Hollywood. But I'm not targeting the Hollywood, I'm targeting to be ahead of Hollywood.
Oh, nice. So what will it take for us to get there?
First, it's courage and vision and dream.
Okay.
Because if you just dream about it, that's all. Yeah, the energy you have inside you, it will take you to that's what you're aspiring to do.
All right, your worst and your best experience in the industry.
My worst experience in the industry, I was approached by one of the producers, and he told me they have the products for special effects. So they told me what I'm required to create on set. So I left my products at home. So I went to that set. When I reached there, they gave me their kits.
Right.
Surprisingly, I got the products I got there. They were just totally fake.
All right.
Fake, because like for blood, I think I got, it's called what? food colors with
Okay.
some water. So you have to mix.
You have to mix that.
You have to mix. Then I got dreadlocks wax
Mhm.
because we have the molding wax.
Yes.
Which can, when you stick, it can stay for like even 24 hours.
Mhm, mhm.
We have latex which you stick, not unless you pull it, it cannot come out. So I created, they wanted me to create some cuts on the stomach of one of the casts. So I created, then it was required to run. So when you tried to run, everything went down.
Oops, it melted
You see,
down. Yeah,
and
okay.
that time we were away from, I was away from home. We were
Okay.
shooting away from Nairobi.
Alright.
So it was like, what? You create again? Down.
Down it goes.
So, so pissed off.
All right.
Then they were told me, no, you have to be
Was it?
creative. Just-
Oh, so it was being blamed on you.
yeah, you have to be creative. We have been using these products, so you have to be creative, mix these products. And so I was like, guys.
This is not it. But eventually
that
it worked.
day was the worst day in my life.
Well, that's what they say. By the time you see a film on TV,
Yes.
you do not even know how much work has been put towards gathering that.
Sure.
Your best experience?
Best experience is this time I was approached by one of the producers in Hollywood. It's called Nikki Wabugu. It's a very good friend of mine. It's a Kenyan, but it's working in Hollywood. So he told me, you know what, I want to work with you. And he came, we met. I was
Excited, yeah. So that's good.
Yeah, so that one, I think it's the best experience I got because being approached by Hollywood producer, it's not
a small thing. I
It's not
agree.
a
How
small
how
thing.
how do you position yourself in the market? And I mean, how do you get to market yourself to the people?
I market myself through social media, yes, like Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp. Yeah, and also I try to push and sponsor the portfolios.
Right.
I do more portfolios. I also do collaborations. I collaborate with photographers, videographers, and filmmakers. At least we create something, then we put it online so that people can see, and so we get our job from marketing ourselves on social media. Yeah.
Has there been a situation where you have had to, at least, okay, well, say, let's talk about a person you've worked with, maybe a producer, a director that you've worked with, and they've denied you the freedom or to go ahead and get pictures that you incorporate in your portfolio. I mean, they've said probably this is private, this one cannot be rolled out. And especially when we know about film, sometimes you're not allowed to dish out some of this content before the film airs officially or is launched officially. Are there times you've experienced such situations?
Yes, I've experienced such situations.
And how do you
so
handle
many
that?
different states, different shoots.
Mhm.
Yeah, so even you are not allowed to carry your phone. You have to keep it just away from. You are not allowed to take pictures. So you are told, you know what, you'll get credit, but nobody is allowed to take pictures. But for that, because it's work, you just take it the way it is. And you try to create your best so that you can get work afterwards.
All right.
Yeah, you just take it easy.
So you have to maintain high discipline.
Yes,
High
sure,
discipline.
sure,
So
sure.
where do you see yourself in years? Before you answer that, I'd want to know, removing the makeup, because sometimes there's a whole lot of stuff put on someone's face.
Yes.
And once you've done that as the makeup artist, boom, you've disappeared. You're leaving this other person to figure out how best they can handle this. So skincare is key, like you've said. Before you start applying this stuff on someone's body, do you advise them on what to do next once they've put this?
Yeah, for them, we have makeup removers. So I try to educate them when I'm doing makeup on your face. So I have to advise you on what you'll use after your day. It's
done, yeah, after the production.
So
yes.
I have to advise you. If it's a special effects, I have to stay there because you can't just pull it down because it will. You can pull it down, then it comes out with
your skin.
Your skin. So I have to stay there and use. We have the makeup removers for special effects. So I'm the one who is supposed to remove it from your skin. Yeah.
Have you ever dealt with a case of a reaction? Someone comes to you and tells you that, you know what, the product you used on me has reacted. And have you had products that have reacted on you yourself?
I have not experienced the reactions on my clients and also on me. So,
what if it happens? Because it's possible that it could happen.
It could happen, but you see, you have to be careful for it not to happen. Because when it happens, then it means your work you lose more clients.
But sometimes it doesn't happen because you've planned for that. It's just that, people have sensitive types of skins, different types of skins. So it could react with you and not react with somebody else.
So when it reacts to a person, I have to give them advice on how the products they can use to clear the affected areas.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your future plans? What are your future goals? I know you've told us one that you'd want to train as many youths as possible to this.
In 5 years, I see myself as an international makeup artist for special effects and also for beauty makeup. Through that, now I'm training young people, and we have started shows like Halloween shows.
Okay.
Yes, every year there is an Halloween show. So I'm planning to learn more and to train more people. So in 5 years' time to come, I'm seeing myself as an international makeup artist, traveling all over the world, creating like special effects like you have never seen. Yes, I'm seeing myself as I see myself in 5 years to come. I see, let's say I'll be the top makeup artist in the world.
All the best to that. And what are you doing towards that? I mean, what more are you doing to add on to the skills that you have, to make the best of the skills that you have? Because you realize that even for us, the kind of makeup that I apply today is not the kind that I did a year ago, 2 years behind. Like, it keeps evolving. So what are you doing to match up and to keep up with the...
What I'm doing, it's like every week I have to create a new look on special effects. So I keep on learning every day. I keep on creating every day. I'm also searching for the new products in the market and learn how they are used. So you have to keep yourself updated every day. See the products you have released, the new products from those big companies which they produce special effects makeup. So every day I'm creating every week I'm creating a new look. Yes.
How expensive can you go in getting your products? How expensive? There are times that you say, or there are people who will compromise on quality because the argument is that, oh, well, if I can still achieve something close to what I want to achieve at a lower price, why not?
Like last year, I imported special effects makeup products worthy 300,000.
Okay.
Yes.
Or how much? Okay, wacha tufanye hivi na mkono. Like how much? Like just like a simple box, like a simple kit?
It's just a box like let's say this size from down.
Right.
Yeah, but with the everything you need to create a special effects makeup.
Sometimes when we buy some of these things, we are calculating, is it going to bring returns? How long will it take for me before I get the returns? Has it given you returns so far?
For me, I buy, but I'm not concerned more on money.
Okay.
But I'm concerned more on creating what a client wants. I'm more concerned. I'm concerned on what makes me happy.
Right.
So I'm just satisfying I want to satisfy my client to show him wholeheartedly what I can create. But money, you can't put money first. You have to put the satisfaction first before the money. So I imported that kit, 300,000, and I did just like let's say 3 shoots with it.
Right.
And I think by the end of this year, I will be.
You'll need to import more.
Yeah, I have to import more.
Wow.
I want to be more equipped, but I don't have to keep money first. What I do, just to be perfect. Yeah.
All right, perfection is key,
Yeah.
but also the long-term goal would be, or the ultimate goal would be, you know, how much you can make out of this and everything. How much? How many years do you give yourselves? It's okay. You want to say that in 5 years you're going to be amongst the best, but how many more years do you give yourself to that point whereby you'll be saying, you know what, you call me for this shoot, it is below what I take, and I'm not going to take it.
Even now, you can call me
you
for
cannot
a shoot.
sell low. Okay. How then are you saying that money is not a factor?
Even now, because you see, it has taken me 3 years in the industry.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot. People have seen my work. So even now, you can't just call me and give me a small budget. You have to pay me well. Yes.
All right.
So even now, yeah, the producers know that, the directors and filmmakers, they know that.
Right. How are you placing yourself strategic within the market? I know you've said that sometimes you market yourself, you know, online and everything. That could be for the international scene. But within the market, how are you aligning yourselves with the key producers, with the key directors, with the key people in the film industry in the country?
What I do first, if you are shooting a film, let's say you are a producer, we have to have a meeting together. You tell me what is expecting of me. Then when you tell me what is expected of me, what I'm supposed to create, how many days, so now I give you my price, like every day you have, how many days I'll be on set. So now from that I can tell you, every day you have to pay me this. Every day. So then it depends on, let's say it's a local production. Local production, it differs with the let's say from Hollywood and other producers from outside. Yeah, so it depends with the what you are shooting and the coverage, like how many people you are targeting.
You're going to target, all right.
So,
okay, that's incredible. As we wind up on this, probably you'd give us your parting shots to, you know, very many youths are out here, all sitting lazy, not focused on making the best of themselves. But look at you. You have gone to YouTube and you have gathered an art. Free of charge. Okay, well, not free of charge because then again you have to load bundles and everything and all that. But, you know, I mean, what would be your advice to the youngsters out there?
What I can advise them, it's for me, let's say start from, I was born in a village where I don't think even now it's in the Google
anyway,
map.
the Google map or in,
yeah, so I was born there. Went to school without shoes, you see. So I did not see myself like being approached by people. I don't see myself even the TV to see me on TV. So what I did, I just sat down one day and I was like, what can I do to reach there? When I started makeup, I did not start makeup to be employed by anybody. I started it to be a CEO. I said, let me go learn makeup so that I can employ myself.
Nice.
And interact with so many producers and because I did makeup, I was focusing on film production. So what I can tell young people, it's just dream about it. Try to dream.
Right.
Then take that, the energy you have, the little energy you have, then go for it.
All right,
it's
amazing.
simple. You can go anywhere. You can reach anywhere you want in this world.
Indeed. Congratulations, Jeffrey Ndunga. And of course, all the best as you pursue this special makeup artist. That's an incredible story, and we wish you nothing but the best. Thank you so much for gracing our set this morning. And it's also time that I update you on what is happening on our roads. And yes, let's cross over to the other side and take a look at what is happening. The road's not so bad. I can only notice that Mombasa Road, well, as always, is the only place that, you know, in few sections that we have some bit of traffic. And here we are in Nairobi. Let's kick off with, as you can see, the green, as always, will tell you that it's not so bad. And also the yellow is not as bad. Red is a little bit too tight in regards to the roads. And the heavy, the maroon now, is what will tell you where traffic is so bad. Here we are. Nairobi South Hospital. This a little bit, let me take it from here. Yes, here we are. So we can update you when you're stepping out. You know what directions to take, what directions not to take. Nairobi West all the way, hospital, here we are. Hospital headed to Neli Kenya Institute of Mass Communication. You can tell that there's a bit of traffic along Mombasa Road. So if you're taking that direction, be a little bit careful. On this other side of Mata Hospital, not so bad of a situation. And Hebatula Road, Bandari Road, Impala Auto Spares, not so bad of a situation. Let's cross over to this side. I'll pick up on where traffic is heavy. That is just Mombasa Road. And coming to this side of Nyayo Stadium, some bit of, snarl-ups, but not so bad. It's obvious that the roads are not so bad this morning in Nairobi. And I'll also go back to some of your feedback. As you can see, that it's all clear. That is Hill Park Hotels, that is Britam Office, that should be along community. Not so bad. Mwalimu Sacco National Society. The roads are not so bad, as you can see. Mara Road, clearly not so bad. Kenyatta Terminus, Kenyatta Avenue, not so bad. And I think it's obvious that this morning, courtesy of COVID-19, a majority of people are not out here in traffic. So indeed, the mornings are not so bad. So I'll not delve much into that. I think I've picked on the key ones. The reminder that if you're using Mombasa Road, you expect a snarl-up, a brief snarl-up on the same. And let's cross over to some of the feedback on Mathri route. The road users also giving us updates on what is happening. And I last used Likoni Road 2 months ago. Does it still have horrible potholes? Well, that is someone who's asking. If you are somewhere in Likoni Road, kindly update at Shish Kebab, so at least she knows whether she should take that direction. Or the madness they did from Karioko to Pangani is unexplainable. They just poured the mix on the road, made the road super rough with free chipping flying dangerously. Why throw waste resources like this? And I think I have seen that. One of the evenings while using that road. That is a tweet by @Dream Low Blast. And let's see, Thika Road needed to recarpeting anyway. Thika Road needed no recarpeting anyway. Well, they should have redirected the funds to other roads within Nairobi in worse conditions, as they would say. John Mauta, some bit of recarpeting being done in Thika Road and probably causing some bit of a snarl-up. No roundabout signage along this highway road. Signage markings, white or yellow dotted road continues, and cut eyes do help. Mind you, this rainy season accelerates blind spots. That is at Japheth Masanda. And I think I agree with Joseph. A majority of roads in Nairobi, you find that actually even where there's a bump, there are no markings. If you're expecting a turn somewhere, they're not there. So I think there needs to be some proper, marking of the roads across Nairobi. I think there's not so much. The three things: one, Cabana State, the hill opposite Imara Daima, ICD entrance jam with trucks opposite Samia. After that, it moves. That's also a reminder on what is happening that is what is happening on Mombasa Road. Thika Road, slow moving at Allsops. Then again, Utalii to Pango Exchange. There you go. If you're taking Thika Road, you know what to expect. And I think that's more like it. Multiple accident at Samia Business Park Town outbound causing a traffic snarl-up. I hope it's not as bad. That is a tweet by Humphrey Humes. So if you're using that direction, you know what to expect also. And cold weather today. Of course, people asking what Thika Road is like. You've already gotten an answer as to that. A matatu from NTVRS Sakongong operating along Gong. Of course, the numbers have been captured right there, KCK 666. I'll not go into that. Flip squad, 2 almost flipped and endangered the lives of passengers and road users driving dangerously. I think some of these people, we need to name and shame them so that at least we all use the road well and we ensure that it's a comfortable ride for every other person who's using the roads. And that's more like it. We'll be here again tomorrow morning on a Morning Cafe to give you more updates on the world of news and also what is happening on the road, and so much so also on matters lifestyle. It was great having you this morning. My name is Linda Alela. Thank you so much for keeping us company. I will remind you to keep it TV47 because we have so much so in store for you. Do have yourself a lovely day. See you again tomorrow. Thank you so much for your feedback. We won't be going through them because of the interest of time, but asante. Bye-bye.